Hey, welcome to your next best step with Brek Cockrell, the locker room for purpose-driven leaders. This is where we slow down, reflect, and we take our next best step through real stories, practical strategies, and rooted leadership wisdom. Thank you so much for tuning in, and remember, even the best leaders need a coach in their corner. Hey, welcome to your next best step, the locker room for purpose-driven leaders. This is where we slow down, reflect, and take our next best step through real stories, practical strategies, and rooted leadership wisdom. We'll try to help you lead with some clarity and intentionality because we don't want anybody to just wing it when it comes to leading and leadership. And this is what we know, even the best leaders need someone in your corner. And that's why we're here today. I've got my good friend, DaMar Dowell, DaMar Rashawn Dowell, author. He is a husband, a dad, a community leader, rooted here in Buffalo, which we're going to talk about what that means, because I think it's something special, the leadership that we see here in Buffalo. Athlete, worship leader, communicator, speaker, just all around good dude. DaMar, thanks for hanging out with us here on the podcast today, man.
Well, my brother Brek, I appreciate you for having me, man.
Yeah. We have we just a little bit of a history. I've got this little thing called a ring of fire in my backyard.
Ring of fire.
Started it. I had a chance to go up to a place called Refuge back in 2017 with my brother Thad. And shout out to Brian Carpenter and the whole Refuge crew up there in Billings, Montana. They also have a place over in Wyoming now. But man, it was 3-4 days of basically lots of fun during the day, fishing and everything. But in the evening, it was sitting around fires, laughing, telling stories. It's where I smoked my first cigar. This I was, I think, 54 and had never had any of that tobacco on my lips. I was a good preacher's boy for a long time. And then I'm up there with a bunch of pastors and leaders, and I'm like, what's going on here? And man, I didn't quite get it that first year, went back the next year, and I say it goes back to my rootedness. I'm citizen of Potawatomi Nation, right? And I feel like it went back to some of my communal roots, sitting around a fire. My actually citizen Potawatomi Nation, we're the keepers of the fire. So which is really interesting because when I didn't really put any of this together, but one of the things that after doing that for a couple of years, I'm like, I love this. How can I bring a little bit of that back to the below? So we had an old swimming pool, above ground that gave up the ghost. I think it outlived its 20-year life by about 15 years. And so it was flat, right? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to build a fire pit. And I called it a ring of fire. And I don't know, 6 years ago, I started inviting guys out. I'm like, hey man, it's ring of fire. We're just gonna come out, have some food, smoke some cigars if you want, and chop it up. And DaMar, you're an OG at the Ring of Fire. We've had some amazing conversations around that
Yeah,
fire, man. So
sure.
welcome today, man.
Yeah, the Ring of Fire. That actually, I wasn't a cigar person either. I mean, but I've become one. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
because back in the day, even when I first started smoking, it was like, oh, you got to inhale and Like it's a blunt, but it's really not. You're not supposed to do. I was like, oh, okay.
No.
But yeah, definitely some good conversations, some wholesome conversations, some real conversations with real brothers.
Mm,
And it's been definitely beautiful, man. And I think the the caliber of people that come to it, it speaks to your heart and relationship building and connection. And a lot of those men that I've seen there, like those relationships, those conversations even continue after that. So
mm,
yeah, I appreciate you for doing that because, that's I think is a big thing for sure.
yeah. Well, I can't wait for the Ring of Fire to get back up because that means it's not as cold.
Lord Jesus, Lord
You
Jesus.
know, it's tough to do. I mean, I got the garage, I got the locker room, but there's nothing like, being outside and chopping it up, man. So, hey, man, DaMar, you are such an interesting, you've got such a story. You're in lots of different spaces. And I'd love for our listeners to hear a little bit about your backstory. This podcast is about leadership. It's about leaders. I truly believe that everyone is a leader. That
Mhm.
God has given us the gift of life, and if anything, if leadership is anything, it's a stewardship. It's
Yeah.
temporary, and we're going to be held accountable. Meaning, we've been given the privilege to lead and steward our life,
Right.
and we don't have to leave it up to fate. We actually get to take the old pen out of fate's hand, and we God's given us agency, and so we're not victims to the point where hey, it is what it is,
Mm.
man. And I remember, I think the first time I really heard your full story was we connected down at Hansa and we just chopped it up for a couple
Mhm.
hours. And I'm like, my gosh, dude, I had no idea. And of
Yeah.
course, that's the way it always is, right?
Right.
Like,
Right.
we so typically kind of assume that we know somebody's story based upon where they are today.
Right.
And so, man, give us a little family, like married, kids, and then give us a little backdrop into DaMar's world yesterday.
Yeah. Well, my wife, Carissa, she has been the staple of my existence for the last 17 and a half years. Man, just loving me through my learning and leadership journey, really. We have several children. um, we have two in heaven. We lost two babies too. And but Nevaeh, she's 20. My daughter's turned 21, which is wild, bruh. Insane. uh um Jacob, he is 16, little quarterback.
Mm.
Um Sarah she'll be her quinceañera is 15.
Ooh,
She'll be 15 in a couple months. And then Joshua, he'll be 12 in a couple months.
yeah.
And so, man, like greatest joy and thrill of my life is being a husband and a father. And we were sharing a little bit just before this. I recently got my master's degree last May, and we decided to take a cross country trip because I graduated from Gonzaga and it's in Washington State. So we drove full,
Mm.
stopped in Chicago first, did some sights and went to um what's the joint called in where the presidents is at? South Dakota. What's it called? Mount
Oh,
Rushmore. Yeah.
Mount Rushmore. Yep.
But did that. Went to my graduation, went to Seattle, came back through Utah, Nebraska, and it was
Mm.
oh man, it was the greatest time I've like to have that level of oneness. I use that word a lot. Obviously, it's in
Mm.
my book, but like I experienced it in
Yeah.
the way that I always wanted to. Like obviously you raising kids, you running, you
Right.
got jobs, you entrepreneur, all of that. But it's something about being consumed and engulfed with family.
Yeah.
And
And
so,
you were in a season of life where your kids were teenagers, young adults.
yeah.
So that's a whole nother dynamic when you're going on a family vacation trip.
Mhm.
How long was that trip?
We did 11 days.
Wow.
So we was
Ooh.
zooming. But we had a couple moments where we planted, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was, you know, I wanted a whole bunch of kids just because I really loved at the time, I used to say, man, I love when they're like 2 to 5 years old, right? It's like they're first getting their personality and all of that. And then my wife was like, nah, bro, we done. um, but I so much enjoy where they are now too. Like every
Yeah.
stage, it's like, you know, they pouring into me, praying for me, speaking
Yeah.
life into me the same way, you know. So I'm learning from them, you know, which is a part I think of leadership, being humble
Mm.
and learning to, you know, to listen, you know. So yeah, that's my family. That's my home, my heart. I think that's my number one ministry. Good friend of mine, Pastor Tommy McLean. He always say that. You know, he said it for years. That's your number one ministry. You know,
Yeah.
your family. You know, so I can keep talking about that forever. You know, my babies and my wife. So that's like the now. Before Buffalo, born and bred. I remember, man, I went to all Kensington Bailey. My sister went to Kensington High School. I went to ECC 78 on Olympic, which is now Olympic Apartments. I went to Campus West. Went to Seneca Vocational. Went to ECC Community College, actually, where I met my wife. Played football, got some scholarships. I was like all high athlete, got some scholarships and stuff. And so I've been, you know, all my life, Buffalo. My daddy was a preacher, PK, but I didn't really, you know what I mean? He was good. He was actually, he lived it.
Mm.
And I saw that. And it
Mm.
was such a high standard that will either cause you to follow or to run.
Mm.
And I just was like, you know, I didn't want no parts of that at the time. I always had in my mind, maybe when I'm like 40, you know what I mean? I'll settle down a bit, you know what I
Right. Old as
mean?
you just
Right.
turned 40.
I know. I feel amazing until I start trying to run too hard, like
Yeah.
pull something. I'm like, ooh, it ain't the same. But you know, I'm born and bred here, and in that process, though, for me, like I didn't I didn't grow up street boy. I was surrounded by it. Sports really kept me out of it. I kind of dibbled a little bit with stuff like that, you know. But you know, I seen the damage it could do. Homies who getting killed, you know, boys going to jail and all of that. So sports was my way to like, nah, I'm good. But then, sure enough, you know, it was more of a choice, right? You can be a product of your environment, but you also have choices.
Mm.
And so I made a choice, and I made a choice to dibble and not just dibble, but dive in, you know. And I was actually in college at the time, and so you know, started doing that, and it caught up to me, you know. I didn't think it was that bad because it was just a little hustling and all of that, but it was, you know, I was causing damage. I was hurting people, you know. I was causing damage to people's lives, you know. So, you know, when you're in that mode, you know, you're so selfish, you don't really think about it. And then when I got caught up, I was a minor though. So I was facing felony charges. I had some charges, man. And it was this moment where I had just found out that my daughter was on the way.
Mm. Wow.
And man, I just kept having this reoccurring screen playing before my eyes of her coming to visit me, and I'm in jail and she's crying. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, this is 22 years ago.
Mm.
And I'm like, in the moment, I was like, I've ruined my life. Like, what have I done? Like, why did I do that? You know, and then I'm talking to boys who's with me in there, and you hearing their stories of what happened with them and a lot more serious crimes. And, you know, I just had this moment where I just threw up a Hail Mary. prayer. And God got some good hands, man. He's sticky with it. He catch them joints. And I said, man, if you real, get me out of this. I'll never go back to the streets. And then 11 months later, wiped away clean, as if it never happened. Like, if I don't tell the story, I've actually had some people encourage me not to tell it because I'm a Black man and, etc. But which I have considered, but I think the gain of sharing my story, seeing where I've come from, and where I am today, and just some hope, you know what I mean? And even the fact that for people who are in certain positions, like there was the judge in my case, he expunged my record. He didn't have to do that. You know what I'm saying? He was like, you know what? We're going to give him another chance.
Is that called grace?
Woo!
Mercy would have just let you out.
Yeah.
But the record is still there.
Mm-hmm.
But wow. What a picture of true grace, because that's what grace is. It's not just mercy. We didn't get the punishment we deserved, but we got more. Like him seeing you down the road at 40, 22 years later, going, no, he doesn't need that. Let's give him a chance to start fresh. Wow, what a picture of grace.
Yeah. It is one of those moments where you're like, man, I must have a purpose.
Yeah.
There's got to be something that I'm supposed to do.
This isn't just dad preaching. Right. Now it's real. I got myself it's like all of a sudden you're praying that it's what, my dad was a pastor. My kids grew up in the pastor. Like, one of the exciting things I think as a dad is seeing with all three of my adult kids now, moments where God showed up and I had nothing to do with it. Like, no, that's your story.
Yeah.
It's this is your God. This is your relationship. And like, wow, that just, that's next level, man. So you going back, that was really the beginning of your own personal faith journey with you and God.
Yeah. I mean, he proved himself. It's kind of one of those like, all right, I did my part. What you gonna do, cuz?
Right?
What's up?
It's now back on you.
It's on back on me now. I'm like, all right, so that began a journey. Then there's like, as that's happening, and then like maybe, man, about a year and a half later. So like after that, again, my dad's a pastor, so we really connected. And after that, so we haven't like, I see what you're talking about now, And then he passed away within a year and a half, and we had planned, man, we were gonna, and he was young, and I actually found him lifeless. I knew something was wrong. I got there, and he had just passed. I checked his pulse. He had just was gone. He still was warm. And man, it hit me. But I knew I wasn't alone. Like, he imparted so much into me that I knew it was on me to step up and live it out. And not just for me, but for his grandkids, right? And for the generations after him. So like he lived a life. Now I could go into his life. Every time I see somebody, they always, especially an OG, they be like, oh, I remember your daddy was, But when I was born, he stopped that. And he lived it for like 20 years, you know? And so he stopped it generationally. And he put it on me to, carry it out. So, and I got other brothers who have been doing the same as well too. But that was the beginning for me.
Wow. So what's, what was your next best step out of that point? Like, all right, I don't want to go back. I want to move forward. What were some next best steps for you that kind of set you up? Sometimes I it's curious, like what your view is. You know, what was your master's in, DaMar?
Organizational leadership.
Yeah. So leadership, we both are kind of junkies in the leadership, like the
Mhm.
power of it, the your responsibility of it, all of it. And I think it's really hard to lead well if you don't have a why, if you don't have a purpose. But sometimes, depending on who you listen to, sometimes purpose finds us, and sometimes we find purpose. I'm not, I, I think God has given us an imprint that a part of all of our purpose is to be life givers, not life takers, right? It's about
Mhm.
others. So in that purpose, uh, that we all, I think, as human beings, share together. Um, what were the next steps to kind of lead you into kind of where you're, I know it's a lot, but in that leadership world, and I mean, because you're an athlete, you're a musician, you're an author, you're creative, you got lots of different, fingers in a lot of different spaces.
Yeah. So for me, I would say discipline execution was the next step. I need to find that next, whatever it is in front of me, and I need to do it well.
Mm,
Right. Like, like I said, I was in college. That whole first year, I got 3 credits out of 24 credits. It's hard to fail that good. And so I didn't want to do that no more. Like, nah, I'm in school.
yeah.
I'm gonna put this to, you know what I'm saying? So like
Right.
it was that. Get your grades up. I started working out. I never worked out before. I gained 15 pounds of muscle. I went from running a 4.89 to running a 4.47, like legit, legit.
Mm,
Like I started going in and with the discipline, doing things I didn't want to do, taking a protein shake, reading the book, like like when you're tired, mind you, I gotta work because I got a baby now, so I gotta work on the weekends, go to school during the week to pay for all this. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was a lot, but what you gonna do? Like, what's up? Leadership is like, what's up, bro? Like, you can make every excuse in the world,
mm,
and a lot of them are valid.
yeah.
Like, or maybe not but and you can also get her done.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm fortunate enough to have this. I had that drive behind me. Like,
Mm,
I have this next chance, man. I can't waste it. I can't be disrespectful to God, to
mm,
me, to my people who believe in me, who like, my mom, my pops, who looking down. No, I gotta get it done. So that discipline execution is what happened. So I started going in. I trained, and I was able to gain several scholarship offers playing football at Erie Community College. We did really well that year. Um, I wanted to go to a certain school, and so they weren't as in love with me as I was with them. Big school, and so I turned down a couple other ones that were full rides to smaller schools, but I could have got it done. But I wound up staying a little closer because with my daughter at that time, I actually wound up getting custody, and I needed to take her with me to college. So
mm.
now I got my daughter with me at college, and it was funny because The Pursuit of Happiness had just came out,
Wow.
and
Wow.
I had it was a DVD. It might have been a cassette, but anyway, I got that copy. And so, to anybody who's a man, I had this teacher, Dr. Lori, and Dr. Lori. This is when I was in Pennsylvania Lafayette University. So she knew my situation, and she was like, "You got a daughter, right?" I'm like, "Yeah," because at first I didn't have my daughter with me. I was like, "How am I gonna do that playing football and all of that?" And she was like, "Why you won't bring her here?" I was like, "Doc, are you crazy? Like, I can't bring her here. I'm playing football. I live by myself. Like, my room doesn't have kitchen access. I have to go get, I'm making all these excuses. I don't have a car." She was like, she listened to me. She was like, strong. She like that black auntie that just
Mm,
speak life.
yeah.
And she said, I actually write about this in the book too. She was like, all that sounds real good, but your daughter needs you more than any excuse that you're making right now.
Oh,
It's like, oh,
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 oh.
oh.
Yeah.
So I was like, you're right. So I called her mother and I was like, we had a situation and at that point, and her mom was she had some stuff going on. So it was actually my daughter's with her parents.
Mm.
And so, which I didn't know actually until I called and she was there because I left to go to play football. And then I called. I'm like, what? I wouldn't have left. I would have, but I know why. Later I knew. I was like, oh, I got you. You know what I'm saying? We could have talked about that, but it was just a disconnection there. So anyway, I went and got my baby, brought her to school with me. Correct. I had to, this is just every day. So listen, I'm training,
Yeah.
right? And I'm like training, like,
Yeah.
I don't play. On top of lifting, I would do 200 sit-ups, dips, push-ups every day in my spare time. I got up every day at 6 a.m. to go run about 4 or 5 miles. And it was cold. This was like, I got her a second semester. So I would go run 4 or 5 miles, come back. And mind you, where I live at, man, it was sort of a halfway house / not a halfway house. It was like the person was letting people, they lived downstairs, but they had a couple people in there as a little, you know what I'm saying? They were good dudes. It was just, you know what I mean? So like, I got my baby in there. We got one bathroom, we sharing.
Oh my God.
I got a fridge and a microwave, but the dining hall is, you know what I'm saying? So I made a deal. What happened was, this is the people who be talking about, food stamps and stuff like that, like ignorant people who don't have any empathy. If I didn't get assistance from the state of Pennsylvania, I couldn't have pulled this off. I went to the office and said, this is what Dr. Cannon. She said, go tell him your situation. I told him I'm in school, but I need my daughter here. They said, all right. They paid for daycare for me. And they gave me food stamps.
Come on.
Now, I ain't had no kitchen, so I had a homie. And I said, yo, listen, if you let me use your car, I'll buy you steak and shrimp because I can't eat all of that. I just need the perishables, but let me use your car so I could drive my daughter to school in the mornings. And then she said, oh, say less. And I respect you for doing that with your kid. So I'll wake up every day, go run, come back, get her ready. I had to run and get the car from down the street, bring the car back, take my daughter to school or daycare, take the car back, then come back and then go to school. Then come back from school, go pick her up, go get the car, go pick her up, take the car back, and then train and all of the above. Yeah. And so it was, but what happened was, and I had so much help, so many friends that, it was this girls in this one hall. They were dope girls, and I'd be like, listen, can y'all I need to study. And they would take her in, and I'd come back, and the whole hall's in the room. It's like 10 girls in there painting their nails, and they all, what I'm saying? Yeah. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful example of community, of oneness, of like, we respect you, DaMar, for what you're trying to do. We gonna help you. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so at the end of that, I had the highest GPA that I ever had in my life. With all that going on. Wow. Incredible. Yeah. Because it was like, no, we're going to be disciplined. We're going to get it. We're going to put things in motion in place and do what we don't want to do. And when you do that, you create a momentum that is unstoppable. Nothing can stop that. When there's a oneness factor there, when there's cohesion, like I was reading, I had this moment where W.E.B. Du Bois just came like for me. I'd known about him, I read about him, but it became life. And I was reading his The Souls of Black Folks, and when he's talking about two-ness, and I had never heard that phrase before I read it. And I was writing about oneness. I was like, oh. Yeah. And he was in Buffalo, the Niagara movement turned into the NAACP. That started here. Yeah. And I'm like, it's just like this, I feel like there's a torch there. Like, he was talking about two-ness, I'm talking about oneness. And when I think about two-ness, I think about like fragmentation, right? Like just division. It could be within, it could be, with those around you. It could be in a corporation. It could be in a classroom. And when you apply the wholeness mindset to that fragmentation, that's what brings that gel there, right? That is spiritual too. It's like, you ain't even got to believe in what I believe in, but you know that, you know what I'm saying? I don't know what everybody's believing in. I don't know about them 10 girls, but I knew they was all right. My baby was safe, but I don't know what they think and believe and all that stuff. I just know they want to help me.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's come together, let's partner together. And I talk to them, nowadays, and they see my daughter 21, and they're like, oh my God,
That's
So yeah.
Man, that's and for our listeners, you reference your book. It's called Purposefully Pursuing Peace, P3, right, to the square, oneness fueled through leadership. And man, there's some good stuff in here, DaMar. You did a great job, man, just communicating leadership. And you talk about, uh, W.E.B. Du Bois. And I remember several years ago getting turned on to his writing. And, white dude, um, grew up, you know, middle class, Midwest, very conservative, had a pretty fixed understanding, pretty certain theology, a pretty certain framework of politics and all of that. And man, when we moved into the city of Buffalo and when we launched Renovation Church, I was confronted with through some leaders, some voices that I'd never heard of, and Dr. John Perkins and Noel Castellanos and Leroy Barber, and all these different leaders of color.
Mm.
Like, and I remember being confronted, but it's just personally like, huh. So there's a different world that folks are living in that I must not have participated in. I just assumed your world was my world. And I was pretty certain about that. And man, we are in the month of February. I've talked about, hey, this month bringing on there's so many great leaders of color in our city of Buffalo, black and brown, and I have been blessed and benefited from being not just with them but learning like from these leaders, and you're one of them. And to see over the years and to see your pursuit of excellence, your pursuit of leadership, and hearing your story and perspective, and then you writing this book and then talking about oneness. Man, leadership isn't about titles, it's about transformation. What if peace wasn't just possible but also practical? What if leadership could unify us instead of divide us? I mean, like, what's going on in this world right now? What's going on in our country right now? And I think it's important for us in this space, this day, this week, this month, to like, hey, is it possible for us? Is oneness even possible? I know you wrote the book.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just talk about our city, much less our country. But the power of oneness, man, it's not just some aspiration. It's really the pursuit that God's given us to walk on this journey together.
Man, you know, the phrase "purposefully pursue peace," it comes from a scripture. Like you said, I'm a minister. I do worship. I lead worship. I've led for the last 15 or so years, preacher and all that good stuff. And my first introduction to the difficulties of these types of all of the political, all of the racial, all of the, what it's man, woman, like, differences and opinions. It was really through church. And like you said, I grew up, my mama went to Refuge Temple with Bishop Sanders, and my daddy went to Bethesda with Bishop Badger. So like, black church all day, and then, but now I'm introduced, playing sports. Two things introduce you to different communities more than anything else: music and sports. Is a culture. If you're good in those two things, nobody really cares. Just what's up? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you can slap that bass, white boy, let's go. You know what I'm saying? What that one song, man, what's the song with the dude who oh man, what's the name of the song? Oh, what you won't do for life. I know that boy was white. I was like, oh man. Anyway, so I'm just saying, like, that culturally, there's just those intersectionalities that happen, right? And so I started having these conversations, and I think it's, from me, in my perspective, the authenticity piece is number one. So like, I'm not gonna stop being DaMar. I talk, I'm highly educated, but yeah, I mean, I'm always throwing in that him chan. I'm always that's in there. And I thoroughly enjoy that. So that's a part of my communication. I'm not about to change that. And I don't want you or her to change, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, like, be you, let's, And so I think in the world today, also with authenticity, what it does is you can be authentic, and that means you're a terrible person. So like, but I need that though. I need you to be authentic, because if you're willing to come to the table, which is number one, right? I had a decision to make back in the day, like I said, right? I could have kept going and doing that or not. If you're willing to come to this table, that means there's you know what I mean? Now I'll listen. And like, I personally, man, I listen to like the furthest right, the furthest left, the Orthodox, the Catholic, the Baptist, Presbyterian. I listen.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody has a piece. And we can disagree on a lot, but I think everybody has a piece. And when you listen, scripture says, be what? Quick to listen first. James 1, right? Listen first. Slow to say something. Definitely slow to get mad. But I think it's a formula. If you listen, you won't be as quick to get mad, and you won't be as quick to talk. It's like, listen. I think it's just,
the posture though, right?
Yeah.
We have to embrace a posture of, BC leadership. That's, everybody calls me BC, right? But it also means be curious. It's the essence of the things I talk with leaders when I'm coaching, like, and so often I'll be with a leader and they're just certain, like, well, this is never going to happen. Maybe.
Right.
But what do you mean? Well, we maybe it will never happen. Like, and so when you think about this listening, like, you have to choose a posture of curiosity in order, if you're really trying to listen, as our CCDA folks would say, listen, reflect, respond. Like, listen, you're not listening to respond, you're reflecting. Like, I gotta hear you out.
Right. I'm thinking about this story. So I work with organizations, school districts, small teams, church leaders, and really on the concept of oneness and such. And so I was once facilitating listening and learning circles for rich products. and large corporation. So these people were everybody who was in these circles wanted to be there, right? They came in, and again, I think that matters, right? It's like
It wasn't mandated.
Right.
Wanted to be there, right? Okay.
Right. So if you don't want to talk, okay. There's some people that I pursue because I just want to like take on that challenge. I want to love the hate out of you. But a lot of times you get slapped around with those, and you take a couple slaps, you be like, all right. But this particular one, he wanted to be there. So we have this learning circle. We allow everybody a safe space to share, and in it, I take the initiative to spark a conversation, what I call the challenge. It's an opportunity for us to admit where we were challenged and we failed and what we learned. And so I share that in about a 5-minute space of an opportunity that was with me. What happened for my situation was, so my first daughter, she was not by my wife. We have a great relationship. So one day, my daughter's like 12. She doesn't have a cell phone. We're dropping her off. We're dropping her off at hers. We think we're dropping off at her mom's house. Now, her mom has a daycare. So the conversation is, all right, we're going to drop her off. Well, that day, her mom was not at home. She was at daycare. So and it was like an apartment complex. So we dropped her off. She walked in and we just left. The door opened, we left. Hour later, frantic phone call. Oh my God. What happened was she wasn't there. My daughter, 12-year-old, beautiful little, anything could have happened. Anything. She's knocking on the door. Mom's not there. She goes outside of that complex and goes to the adjacent one. She's knocking on the door in there. She she crying. Somebody comes out and is like, hey, you all right? She's like, no, Mom, I don't have a phone. They like, come on in. Invite her in. Calm her down, give her something to drink. She makes a phone call, calls mom, whole thing. Well, I get the story, and I'm like, oh my gosh. She's like, her mom says, yeah, and actually I know them. There's a lesbian couple. And when she said that, instantly in my heart was like this little, thing. And this is in a matter of 10 seconds. She said that, I've had this little lesbian thing, because I think my background, church, disdain, whatever for all that. And then the second thought come like, what does that matter? Who cares? I don't care if they were astronauts. I don't care. They saved my daughter's life.
Yeah.
Why is my first thought disdain rather than who cares? They're a human I appreciate you, who contributed to oneness. So I did a personal internal check of like, that's not okay. I don't care what I believe. If what I believe causes me to do that, I'm not believing right. I don't believe I'm believing right. Something's not right. I'm not looking at them the way the God that I declare that is the God of all gods looks at them, because he doesn't do that when he sees them. There's no disdain because of whatever. So I share that story.
Okay.
And I share that story, and then it opens people up. And people start sharing. There's this one guy named Tom. That's not his name, but I'll say Tom. Tom started sharing. He's Irish dude, Catholic background, and conversation afterward. Like in the comments, he just messaged me like, "Hey, I'd love to, send me your email. Send him my email." And then he says, I had a problem when you were talking, because I mentioned like Black church in that context. I said I grew up in Black church. Maybe that can, He's like, why do you call it Black church? Like, I don't like that. Like, why is it so exclusionary? Now, I had this moment where I was like, yeah, man, like, what's up, Tom? You don't know who I'm about to hit him with every, But then I listened, slowed, and I thought, well, he came to the table and he has a question. I'm going to try to communicate to him as best as I can the reason why I did that. And so I did. I was like, well, Tom, have you ever thought like why it's called Black church? It's called that because Black people in America could not go to church with you. His people's from Alabama. I was like, y'all wouldn't let us in. So we had to do our own thing. We had to do our own schools. Now, you may be living in another era right now, but like, we shouldn't erase the HBCUs or the Black institution church, because it opens this door. And he actually said, he was like, and then I mentioned to him Bonhoeffer, from the German, he was like an activist, and he really admired him. And I said, do you know Bonhoeffer was tremendously impacted by visiting a Black church in Harlem?
That's right.
And he saw the same parallels of Harlem in America and Germany and what he was experiencing.
Yeah.
And they treated him with love and care and respect. And he was like, he said to me, he's like, I never thought about it like that. I appreciate that. And so that started a friendship. We went, I was like, let's chop it up. So he took me to this like Irish bar, and he introduced me to some like dark beer. Like I like IPAs, but this beer was like dark. I'm like, bro, man. But it wasn't bad. And then I took him one time to like a semi-hood spot, you know what I'm saying? And I introduced him to Henny and Hypnotic, Incredible Hulk. Just a little, I was like, hey, you gotta be careful, man. You don't need one of these, Tom. You know what I'm saying? You can't be going crazy. But, in the context of conversation, you know what I'm saying? We both came to the table. We both were listening. And so to me, this is an example of what can happen, right? Like if you are purposefully pursuing peace, if you are intentionally looking and listening, it can. Now, he said some things that were very offensive to me. And I could have, and I decided to try to help him. Now, I've been in situations where that doesn't work, but I'm going to try though.
Yeah.
I'm going to try, because the love inside of me, the desire to purposely pursue peace with everyone, with all of creation, like, is stronger than his rejection. And so I have a good friend. She helped edit the book, Courtney Davis. She said, I reject your rejection. She's like, I reject you rejecting me. And I'm gonna I'll throw out an olive branch every once in a while. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But if I want my society, my church, my organization, my classroom, like if you're the teacher in the classroom, you can't be letting, I was a teacher for many years. Can't let that, they gonna say little slick and slide stuff and, whatever, disrespect you and all of that. But you keep pursuing, you keep breaking them walls down, you'll get gold out of them that you can't even imagine, Yeah.
So DaMar, like the kind of the work that you do, and can you explain, just give a little bit, just an explanation of the work you're doing, why you wrote the book, right? And now that you've written that book, how it's impacting the work you're doing today.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to create a framework to help people be unified within. I think unification comes from here to there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to create a framework to make it easy for folks to, like, at the end of each part of the book, there's a plethora of questions that you need to sit with and meditate on, be unified within. And then from there, there's leadership, authentic leadership, servant leadership. I use different leadership styles and examples of them to help carve out practical ways to apply them and identify where your leadership bent is, right? And then examples from there of my personal journeys, my personal experiences. Tom is one of them. I had an example with my daughter. One that turned my company into an actual company was because I did the same thing. I crossed the chicken line of being afraid to talk to this white guy because I had this fear of white men from past experiences, and it turned out that he was the homie and opened the door for my company to really flourish and such. So that was the objective of it, and to capture that and to, again, show like, you can come from what you come from. You can develop as a leader. Like you said, everybody is a leader. It's just, if you're a mom, you're a dad, you're a leader. If everybody's a leader. Even if you got a dog, that dog following you. Okay. Little Sergio over here, you keep making noises. I don't know if you can hear him, but you know, everybody is a leader. And so the practicality of that. And so taking that framework, because before I wrote the book, um, most of my work has been in the equity space, all things equity. But it's transformed now even more into helping organizations to, again, that can be, a management team, managers at a plant, and their communication skills and their conflict resolution skills with their employees, all the way to sharing my story with a group of students of, what I mean, where I came from and how I use that to fuel where I'm at. And don't give me no excuses. Let's just get it done. And so, I've seen a tremendous feedback. I actually put at the end of the book, there's a QR code for it because I'm a musician. I have a soundtrack that goes with it. So like every chapter has a song that kind of tells. And I put remember I text you the Nas joint. You text me that lyric. Live with regret. Anyway, one of the Nas songs is on the playlist. Because it's just a dope song. All the way from Nas to Ty Tribbett praise and worship,
Right.
Just wanting to create a framework to help people go from fragmentation to wholeness personally, their sphere, and with this world, and apply that to. And so I've been receiving great feedback, great stories and invites, podcasts, speaking and all of that stuff. And so I'm glad I did it. It was a work of love and care and time, but it's been a blessing.
Yeah. So the work that you see that you're doing mostly now for organizations, leaders, a couple of questions, for you, like how important do you think vulnerability is in leading well?
I got a story. My daughter she's 17 and I'm raising her as best as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm a dad, but at this point I was like, Dad, nah, you ain't, it was a lot more no's than yeses.
Yeah.
And I was a tad bit, probably in her words, a little bit more overbearing in some ways. And so we got into it. And we very, very, very rarely would get into it. And I write about this in the book too. And she says to me, "You're not listening. Like, or don't you see it?" And then there was this moment of vulnerability that I had with just me and her, and I just looked at her and it just came out. I was like, "You think I know what I'm doing? You think I know how to raise a Black woman in America? You think I know how to be a dad?" I was like, "No, I don't." And she said, "Well, you sure act like it."
Wow.
In that moment, I had the thought of, what if I had said this earlier? What if I didn't have this super dad shield on and invited her into a lot more of this process?
Yeah.
Hearing her, really listening to her, what if I was a bit more vulnerable? What if and again, we can, it had to be that moment. I had to learn it then, right? I wish it wasn't, but I did. But it transformed not the way just that I parent, but the way that I lead. It made me consider that it's my personal responsibility to do the work that is necessary to get the results that I want, right?
Yeah.
I can't, and again, I think it goes to deep listening. And so when you're in these spaces, again, classrooms, corporations, the tendency is for people to think that they have to be the strongest in the room to get their thoughts across.
Yeah.
And personally, I think the greatest leader ever is Jesus of Nazareth. And he just didn't operate like that.
Mm-mm.
He went low, he washed feet, he was strong, he would communicate what he. He did, but he in his most his his hardest criticism was of the people who thought they knew it all, who weren't vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
who thought that this is it and that's it. And he was like, hey, would you consider that that's not right?
Yeah.
And then, so the vulnerability to me, it doesn't work unless you do that, because you got to look in the mirror. That's a part of unification within. It's like I had to cope with the errors and mistakes that led me to being in jail.
Yeah.
I had to get there first
Had to
and
own that.
accept. I gotta own it. You did this, bro. You can say this and that and but nah, bro, that was you.
Yeah.
And I've tried to apologize to many people I could. Some of them was like, oh, I appreciate that. Someone was like, it wasn't that bad. Other people was like, no, I don't want I'm not accepting it. And like, I gotta live with that.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta put myself out there and do that. So like, that's the first thing. And a lot of people get stuck there.
Yeah.
Um,
I think, Dr. John Townsend, who is, when I was getting my master's, he talked about, and he wrote the book Boundaries with Henry Cloud. He's written dozens of books and been in the leadership world, psychologist, coach, doctor, all these things. And I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but it just always is a part of what I have to remind myself, and what I try to remind leaders. The greatest, he said this, he said the greatest, he says, after 45 years, 50 years of working with leaders, I feel the greatest need of a leader is to need.
Mm.
And when I first heard
That's
that,
good.
I rejected it. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like, but then as he starts to when he starts to unwrap that through the lens of Jesus, the human,
Mm.
the man side, which I don't think, DaMar, I don't think we give enough thought
Mm.
to Jesus, the man, Jesus, the dude.
Mm-hmm.
We typically kind of spend most of our time thinking about Jesus, the deity, God, like, understandably, but the dude, Jesus, and he talked about, like, every day of his leadership years, spent 30 years behind the scene, like, being just developing who he is, the self-awareness, the just becoming he spent 30 years becoming a great human being.
Mm-hmm.
Come on. Jesus had to, like, yes, he had to be, before he could be a great leader, he had to become a great human being.
Yeah.
There's a lot we could learn from that.
Mm.
And then when he shows up on the leadership scene, he realizes that I have an agenda. It's the greatest purpose that anybody's ever had walking this earth. But as I'm doing this, I'm going to show people, I'm going to show my leaders what it means to lead personally,
Mm.
for everybody that's following that. And every day he woke up being vulnerable. He'd connect with his father. He spent time. He got what he needed. And then he started his day going, where are we going to eat? Last night I had a bed. I had, like, I you want to follow me? I've got no bed. Like, there's
Mm.
I've got nothing to offer you other than uncertainty when it
Mm.
comes to our day to day. But people showed up, and he was willing. He allowed people to help him.
Mm.
Vulnerability
Mm.
did not. It's so crazy to think about. And the other thing too that always blows me away is that Jesus never hustled and he never chased. Every day I'm
That's hard.
hustling, right?
That's
I get it.
hard, bro.
We need
That's
to
hard.
hustle. I
Right.
like, like I get the hustle. We do need to work, but Jesus,
Yeah.
if anybody, like, he didn't hustle and he
Mm,
didn't chase.
mm,
As an entrepreneur, as a solo, like, you're trying to build a business, we're trying to, like, leaders, like, maybe it's just like, well, I gotta, yeah, but man, if I follow the way of Jesus, like, okay, trust, oneness,
mm,
like, okay, I need to do my part, I need to own
mm,
my part. But Jesus knew himself. He was a value-centered leader.
mm,
So he wasn't going to outcomes were secondary.
mm,
People were primary.
mm.
I'm not going to blow by people to get to my destination, the
Mm.
outcome.
Yeah.
Man, you are in a lot of leadership spaces, man. Vulnerability so often, like, man, when it comes to work, I step into that work. I can't I can't be too vulnerable. I got to show up,
Mm,
as Brene Brown says, armored up.
mm. I think the strongest leaders are the ones who are willing to like eat the humble pie and then they ask for a second round. It's like
Can I have another piece of that
I get
humble
another
pie?
piece
Woo, man.
because
Wow.
that thing is doing something in you and to you that you didn't even know was there. Imagine what else could
Mm,
happen. You get this personal breakthrough in that moment with my daughter. I'm like, wow. And it's like, where else am I being hard and not, open and, it's like when you consider it, it's, you mentioned Jesus too. And I was thinking like, I think there's a difference between mistakes and like just outright sinful,
yeah,
intentional behavior.
right.
But mistakes are built into the journey. Like Jesus was 1 years old. He could not wipe himself. So mama and daddy had to wipe him. If you 40 and you poop on yourself, that is, but mistake, he's not as have the ability to do that yet. So his parents helped him, right? It's like he was learning and growing. It says that he grew in favor with God and man, like you're saying, like for 30 years growing in favor, that means you're just a good dude. That means you're there for people. That means you're there for your friends. That means you care. That means cut the grass or, have a tough conversation. It's all those things. And, you know, when in mind that it ain't just about us or me or you
Mm,
individually, it's about the we, and there's no way to escape that. Now you can separate in your silo and be on
mhm.
VR all day or scroll all day and be in your own algorithm all day. You can. And you can live there and you can die there. And I'm not going to tell you nothing. You know what I'm saying? But I will invite you into something that's greater than you, which is if you look at human history, Brett, like just since 1800, the amount of technological advances that have improved the lives of everybody. Like we got people, they going to the moon again. Like imagine 1776 when we get 250 ago. Oh no, that would be inconceivable,
Yeah.
right? And we're talking about thousands of human years of human history, and now things are just less war, less poverty, less racism, less all of it. Now there is plenty of it,
Yeah.
all of that, but there's a steady, you know, it's a steadiness that is happening, and I believe it's because of people like us who are just not okay with just settling for that. No,
Mm,
I'm not settling for you saying to me that you don't like me because I'm black and you
mm,
don't want to hear me. Well, why? If you're willing to talk, all right, cool. And I'm gonna invite or whatever the thing may be. You know what I mean? I've seen and heard, working in this space, like some of the conversations, some of the things people say, it's just like you can't believe it. But then I always try to consider myself, when I was, caught up in all of that and ended up in jail. I remember when my mom first called me, or I first called her. First, she didn't take my calls. I'm calling her from jail. She ain't taking them ever. And she was just like so flabbergasted that I was that dumb.
Hmm.
Like, what is wrong with you? And I had nothing to say. You know what I mean? I was blind. You know what I'm saying? So like, you want to take that approach I take that approach to everywhere. Like everything you go through, you should carry with you. So I take that with me everywhere. And, I just can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they are worth it.
Hmm.
If someone would lay down their lives for people who they never would meet, who may never even honor them or respect them, I can at least give somebody a second thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, man, I just love the conversation. I so appreciate you. Couple things as we wrap up. Uh, is there something a couple of questions. Is there something you used to believe about leadership that you no longer do?
Mm. Yes, for sure. So I've been studying eagles, and eagles fly alone. If you see another bird around an eagle, it's usually another eagle. It's not unless they eaten, you know. Um, and so when you have vision, when you are, you're driven. When you see something, like eagles have double vision, like they can see 5 miles ahead, but they also have 20. I got 20/20 in my left eye. They have 25. So they can see here and there, you know. But the caution with that is that, and me being married too, right? I learned this through marriage. If I could paint a picture, imagine, a samurai warrior, and it's just this big warrior. And imagine you're in that body, all right? And you feel the strength. You got the sword in your hand, you like ready to go and defend and protect, and but you can't see out of your right eye. And no matter what you do, there's just no vision there. You can see out of the left. You can feel everything in the body, but you can't see. You just can't. You can't see what's over here. And then what I picture is my wife is in the same body, but she can't see out of the left. She can't. There's nothing. She can't. We feeling the same things. We're experiencing the same thing, but our vision is different. It doesn't mean that one of us are wrong. It's just she's seeing some things that I don't see. And so what I've learned over, years of marriage is that obviously communication, conflict, doing conflict well, talking allows us to see those different perspectives. And so when we do, and then we bring that together, now we can be this warrior and we're not limited in going to battle. Because if you go to battle with one eye, I mean, it's been done before, but it's a lot harder, right? You know what I'm saying? So I take that analogy. If this is oneness, if this is me and you, if this is your team, we're all together in one. Everybody has a different part of plant. Like you could take it as like, somebody is the left foot, somebody's the right foot, somebody is whatever it is. If we communicate well and we're able to, and when I first started being a leader, it wasn't a lot of that. It was just like, this is what, what I'm saying, with my kids, with my wife, with my team, being a musician. No, we playing this song like this. You know what I mean? And so that turns people off. That you can get stuff done, but it causes barriers to be put up. And then you miss out. There's a lot of companies that are making a lot of money being that way. No, this is it, highway there. And you can, but is that the goal? Or is that what you want? Do you want your people do you want your classroom like that? That you just, you say it goes, and like, it may be, and they might get a good grade, but when they see you outside, they don't want to have nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't want nothing to do with them, but that's something that's a personal thing. So yeah, if I, over the years learning as a leader, like, no, just, you don't know it all, the humility piece. And the more you invite in, doesn't mean that you take everything that everybody says they do. Come on, we ain't silly, but there's much value in the counsel of wisdom.
That's good. You're a musician, so I'll throw this one. I don't give it to everybody. What's your leadership walk-up song?
Hmm. Hmm. My leadership walk-up song. I'm a smooth dude. And before this recent song just came out, it was something else by this artist. Artist name is Cleo Soul, SOL. She has a song right now called "Nothing Is Impossible with You."
Hmm.
And it's just, man.
I gotta mark that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you would vibe with that all day. I have been, this song's been on repeat, I mean, something, you can look at it from a faith perspective. You can look at it as looking in the mirror.
Mm.
And nothing is impossible with me. If I'm, you know what I'm saying? Man, if I'm focused, if I've got that discipline execution, man. And again, if I do have faith and I believe that God is with me or my family's with me, you know what I mean? I got a team with me. Nothing's impossible for us, man. Like,
that's good.
We could be the underdog. We could be, you know what I mean? We could barely get in the playoffs. So we here. We hungrier than them. Nothing is impossible with us. So yeah, Cleo Soul, nothing is impossible with you. That's
okay. All right.
So I come on the stage with that smooth song and walking in like, yeah, get everybody, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes I bring out a guitar when I speak and I'll have people interact and stuff like that. So it's funny.
Dude, that's great. One last question. What would you say to someone, to a leader who feels like stuck or uncertain in their leadership, like they're just going through it? Could be home, could be professional. What would you say? What would be something you'd share with them in taking their next best step?
Well, first, you're not alone. Breathe. Get alone. Assess the situation. What part have you played in it? May have been nothing to do with you. You could be a child was born in Nigeria 5 years ago. Right now, you're experiencing unprecedented things that have nothing to do with you, but you woke up that day, right? It's like, so it may have something to do with you. Some of the relationships, that leadership style I was talking about, that, like you may have severed some things. And so you want to assess it. But at the same time, you gotta keep moving forward. I mean, anything you've gone through, you take it with you. We should only be looking back to gain perspective, not to be in regret. Right? The future and the past, the future's filled with anxiety, the past is filled with regret. Like, be present. Today, you are here. What can you do? That next step that you're talking about, right? Like, what can I do in this moment? And for me, on Sundays, that's nothing. I ain't doing nothing. I could go and grind and make calls or, I'm not. It may be rest. It may need to be time. It may be, all right, it's Monday. I need to get up at 6 a.m. But be present. So take a step back, be present in the moment. You should pray. You should, there is an interconnectedness that we all have, that is beyond description. And my kids had me watching the Golden movie with um the K-pop movie.
Oh,
Very, very, very popular. Still probably in top 10 for Netflix.
yeah.
And I was watching it and I was like, oh, they tapping into something. There's a reason, right? Like it's all about this, this, I don't know, outer core, that is all interconnected us. And if we're not connected, that thing gonna be off a little bit. There's an atmosphere around us. And so only atmosphere that you can change and I can change is our own.
Mm.
So if I do this here, I can take me into a room and I can change the core of that room. Hopefully it's a room that's already going good. You just adding to it. It may not be. You may be in a challenging position. So yeah, you ain't alone, but you got to accept that
You're not
challenge of
alone, but sometimes you need to get alone
amen.
and do some internal work, man. DaMar, that's all so good, bro. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your heart, sharing part of your story, and being vulnerable and just chopping it up with me, man. So I appreciate that. And hey, if you're listening today, thanks for joining us on our next best step. If today's conversation might have helped you, or maybe it connected with you, man, we'd love to hear back from you. Share this with somebody, some other leader, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, wherever it is that you might be listening. And remember, clarity fuels confidence. Confidence moves you forward. Keep leading with purpose, and we'll see you next time.